My bad. Didn't hit the button at the right time. How you guys doing today? Hopefully very good. We will spend some time today on looking at charts. I want to spend a lot of time on charts actually. It's the end of the month, so it's very important to look at the monthly chart for all the different indices, all of the different markers that we look at, including stocks, so that we can get a really good picture of the big picture of how they're doing. So we'll be looking at that in a second. It looks like I'm probably going to be up today. Tesla was a lot of that. It looks like PayPal took a little bit of a hit today, but Tesla's up almost 4% on the day. I expect these calls to start to print if this pattern continues. They were only up 5.2 today, but again, they can 3x the underlying. They can 4x the underlying pretty easily. So I expect good things to come from that. Also, thank you, Team Murray, for becoming a member. I really appreciate that. We're going to jump right into charts. Actually, before we do that, let's look at some of the economic data real quick, just to get that out of the way, and then we'll go into the charts, and then we'll go to the news after that. So we'll do things a little bit differently than we have. Core PCE came in at 0.2%, matched consensus and forecast. All that looks good. If we look at the trend, actually, I'm going to skip the monthly. I want to look at the yearly, so we'll skip that. Personal income, higher than expected. 0.3% versus 0.2% and for forecast and consensus. This is a really good thing. We want people to make more money, right? Personal spending. People are spending more than anticipated, at least in regard to forecast, but it's in line with consensus. So spending still strong, income strong, PCE core price falling lower, which we want to see. Now the year over year, so we're going to look at a few different prices here. Actually, let me go back. We'll look at right here, PCE price year over year to see how we're doing here. This looks like a pretty great rate at 2.5%. There is not a lot of concern with inflation right now, guys. I do believe, though, that we'll eventually start to hover up near 3. But for now, I think this is a really good number. And again, I think the reason we'll go to 3 is why is what Michael Howell was talking about from Cross Border Capital in that video that I did, talking about his latest thesis and reviewing all of his charts. Check out the video if you haven't seen it already. It's a really good one. We walk through a bunch of stuff in it, and again, it talks about why we're eventually just going to have a higher base for inflation, like I've been saying for a little over a year. Also, if we're looking at this, if we look at United States core PCE price index annual change, we see, again, really good number. It's 2.6, but it looks great. It came in with lower than forecast and with consensus. And it doesn't exactly scream inflation now, does it? Even though everybody's talking about inflation, that's the problem of yesterday. Prices will stay high. The question is, how do we make it better in the future? Stocks crept into greed territory. We're at 61%, so we're not neutral right now. We're going a little bit higher. We'll look at the indices in a second here and see whether or not we think it can go even higher than that. If I scroll down here and refresh, let's just see the Fear and Greed Index, 34 for crypto. So crypto's still in fear, which is a good place for it to be. Let's go ahead and look at the CME Fed Watch tool. See how we're doing as far as rate projections. So it looks like it's becoming more likely that we'll get just one rate cut and not 2. That's a good thing. Good news is good news right now. And so we want more good economic data. We know rate cuts are coming. Also, Tesla up 4% when including after hours. I think I said something about this dropping to the 200 moving average and then bouncing a lot higher. And it did just that perfectly. Everybody told me they were going to wait and buy down here, though, or they were going to wait and buy down here in the 190, or they were going to wait and buy at 100 or buy at 150. There's always another drop that they're going to finally make that buy after they sold it like here, and then they're going to buy it down here, but now it's going up. And so what do? They chase. That's how this stuff works. I do want to see the monthly, though. Let's just take a look. See how this looks on the monthly time frame. I'm going to get rid of a lot of I'll bring it back in a second, but I just want to get rid of some of the noise. So we can see here that this actually isn't a bad monthly candle. We can see some consolidation under the 50 moving average on the monthly time frame. Nice wick underneath of us, looking very bullish, hammery, or at least close to it. And I like too, if you line this up and you look at it over, and even with all the fun stuff in here, you can see that we've had a divergence for a while. pointing to the upside, even though we were kind of still trending down. We've got some upside price action. We got it in the MACD. We got it in the RSI. It all looks good. We also stopped right underneath the first fib level and then went higher. So that's great. We got peak volumes that we were able to find support off of. And now it looks like what we really want to do is break that 230 range and ideally get above 245, where our next gap is in Tesla's price action. We got another one above that that goes up to 290. That'll be another good point to sell if you have calls and maybe convert over into stock. That will be my plan. I'll be doing that along the way up. But a really great looking monthly chart on Tesla, in my opinion. So let's go back over here to economic data again real quick. Oh, right over here. So again, all this price inflation, spending, and income data looks beautiful. Chicago PMIs came in at 46.1 or .1, which was better than expected on consensus and forecast. And if we look here, it's a decent read. We want, again, expansion is 50, so we want to go higher. We don't want to be in contraction mode, but if you look here, we've been in contraction for a while. And if you look at 2008, if you look at the dot-com bubble around these times, we've actually had it pretty rough here for the United States Chicago PMI. So Chicago's been hurt. It seems like it can't get much worse, but I don't know with illegal immigration. Can it? We'll find out. Michigan consumer sentiment, 67.9, which is right in line, a little bit better than forecast, a little bit lower than consensus. Let's just look here and see what it says. So it's at some historical lows. We want to see it go higher, but it has been trending higher since about 2 years ago. Michigan 5-year inflation expectations. They're around 3%. You know what, Michigan? I think you're right. I think that is the 5-year number. So it's good that you're realizing that. Michigan consumer expectations. I feel like we looked at this. It must have been a slightly different variant of it. But again, expectations are still trending higher over the last 2 years. That's a good thing. We want that. We want it to keep going up. Otherwise, I don't think there's too much signal to get from here. Michigan current conditions, though, let's look at this. So it came in better than expected, but again, not a great number. In the 61 range, way lower. So massive drop from where we were January 2024, March 2024. So at least current conditions do not look strong, which is interesting. So it looks like they're thinking better about the future, but right now they're not loving it. And this was, even though we had that massive drop, it still beat consensus and forecasts. So again, slightly better than expectations. And then Michigan inflation expectations final was 2.8% versus 2.9. Just all looks good. It looks better. We do need to have, again, this is like no change in inflation. This is a good number for inflation. If anything, we're going to worry about weaknesses, which is why we're going to start pumping the economy and maybe slow down and spending off the balance sheet. Or maybe we keep spending off the balance sheet and do short-dated treasuries and burn down the Treasury general account. You never know. I do want to look here. So total rig counts. Let's see how we're doing on total rig counts. So this is interesting. This is why I think people like Trump would help a lot if they get elected, right? Or specifically Trump. Because if he gets elected, look at what we have for total rig counts and look at what we've done in the past. You know, if there's any kind of incentive, it should be on generating cheaper energy. If there's any incentive, and then don't make it specific to different types of energy. Kind of give them all an opportunity to excel and build out. If you're going to subsidize anything from the government over the short term, you should let it be as capitalistic as possible. But we're much lower on rig counts than we used to be in 2014, in 2012, that's 2008. As of these peaks, we're much lower. And again, there's reasons for that. There's a lot of competition in the world. I think though we need to create some deflation when it comes to energy, and I like the plan. And I think we need to have more rigs running. Nothing. That's it for all the stuff right there. We do have other U.S. economic data too that I want to talk to real quick, and then we'll probably jump into just the rest of those charts instead of just going to Bitcoin and everything else because I do want to get through all of them. So it says, look at how much better the USA is doing versus Europe. I know some people don't like this. They don't like it because they don't think the Fed publishes real data. I actually think the GDP has improved. I think it's a springboard effect. And along with a lot of other stuff, just massive monetary printing. So I do think these numbers are real, but what I was pointing out here is the number, if you look, you can see that we're doing much better in the United States than we are versus Europe. Japan isn't even creating inflation right now. Germany is dead and looks like it's going to roll over. And then the next one in line doing all right is the United Kingdom, France, and Italy, and then closest is Canada, probably just because of its proximity to us. So, but again, everybody's getting the springboard effect. But the United States didn't drop as hard, and we're launching a lot better because our springboard's better. We're the world's reserve currency. We have more options ahead of us, and I think we've done a better job managing our way through the pandemic. We didn't lock down the whole country. There were parts of it that could kind of figure out their own path. So we just did better. We did way better than China did, and that's why our GDP is bouncing harder. And I do believe it's real. All right, I'll read this next one, and then I'm going to try and get caught up in chat too. Looks like people saying hi. Let me just do this. Silas, wasn't there a million downward rejection jobs data just a few weeks back? Yes. It was actually like 890,000 or something. But yeah, close. Doesn't really matter though. Yeah, 818,000, I believe, Silas. Again, I don't know if you guys saw the video, but there was one with Rex Finance that I kind of piggybacked off of and gave my own thoughts. I thought it did a really good job of talking about job-related data. Orange Capital. See my first ever Cybertruck today. White wrap and pulling a trailer. We'll have to get one when the price drops to 80K. They're so great. It'll take you a long time though, dude. When the price drops to 80K, you're going to have to wait in line, and there's like probably 1.5 million pre-orders or something close. So I don't know how easy that's going to be. Sean F. Not me, Jesse. Silas. Mike, I guess it's an election year. Sean F., the new Model 3 is incredible. I've noticed a huge sentiment shift around Teslas. Can't wait for the new Model Y. I think Juniper is going to be amazing. That's the new Model Y. I agree. And the 3 looks beautiful. Sal Pal. Right now is a good time to buy miners since they're all oversold, and hold and wait for liquidity to come in September and October after rate reduction. I agree. I actually think that's a great thesis. And I hope Tesla and PayPal and some of these others take off early, and I hope Bitcoin flounders. That would be fucking awesome. All right, U.S. economy. So we got a shocking headline. It talks about how Goldman Sachs cut over 1,300 jobs in an annual performance review. It says the layoffs span various divisions, affecting different teams to varying degrees, per the Wall Street Journal. I threw my 2 cents in this, and it was this. It was that Goldman Sachs has had a lot of problems. A lot of problems. What do we have, Jackie? I want to read his comment too. Dear Goldman Sachs, is this a gesture in favor of meritocracy or a response to the bad economy? Explain to me like I'm 5. Okay, so he's just asking questions. Here's my take on it, okay? Here's my take. It's that these guys have been wrong about the economy and the direction it's heading for like the last 2 or 3 years. And so they're struggling right now because they haven't done well. And so they're trying to be preemptive, and they're trying to lay off a bunch of people that they don't need in areas that probably aren't profitable. I'm not too worried about it, though. And I wanted to say this. If we look at 2024 job layoffs versus 2023, and this is everybody all across the world, right, in the tech sector, the number is still, it's like 50%, 55% of the way that it was in 2023 right now, but we're 75% of the way through the year. So it's lower than 2023. And also, if you look at some of the jobs down here where people are getting laid off, if we scroll all the way up, it's always San Francisco Bay, but also recently IBM fully is leaving Beijing, China. And so they fired 1,000 people fresh. A lot of the layoffs are going to be in like San Francisco, some other woke-ass U.S. city, or other parts of the world. So if you look San Francisco Bay Area, Santa Barbara, Los Angeles, there's just a bunch, Boston. Most of the, and especially when you look at bigger layoffs, they're in California or they're in some other part of the world. China's had, look at this one, Intel laying 15,000 people off on August 1st. Like all the big ones in Seattle, again, another woke-ass city. So you can see where the pain is. It's in blue states and blue cities and other parts of the world. So I just want to voice that too, that we're not seeing just a lot of tech layoffs outside of that. Just to be very clear. All right, a little bit of humor here. This is from the Libertarian Party. It says, I literally control inflation, United States Federal Reserve. And then he says, no, it's corporate greed. Nick Tamaros, forecasters who map the CPI and PPI into PCE expect a mild print. They were right. Nikki Leaks, Nick Temer. I think Nikki Leaks came from me, Kevin. He's great. He gives you a lot of insight ahead of time. So if he's talking about stuff, you need to pay attention. Fred Krueger, he went through this list and kind of explained what the impact would be if Kamala's programs were implemented on the economy. It's horrific. If you get time, I would recommend checking it out. It just talks about the loss of income and kind of the downward spiral that would be created if she ends up getting any just remotely, like if she got half of what she wanted, we're fucked. And he noted in here, bottom line, stocks will crash, employment will fall, which means higher levels of unemployment. Foreign investors will pull out of the U.S. That's true because they don't want to pay high tax rates. The dollar will crater, causing inflation on imports. That's true too. And the deficit will widen. That's true. Those are all true statements. So let's not let stupid shit like that happen. Also, just wanted to show this. Popular burger restaurant, Shake Shack, shutting down in 6 locations in California because they can't pay the minimum wage. The stuff going on in California is shocking. It is the worst of the worst of the worst. And it's definitely, it's not a good sign for our economy, I'll tell you that much. Let's see, cryptocurrency's under pressure. Let's look. Yeah, let's listen here real quick. I do want to hear what...
Have you ever...
I want to hear what he has to say, Anthony Pompliano. He's a good dude. He's made some mistakes last cycle in regard to who he supported for crypto exchanges and things like that, but a lot of people did. So I won't count him too hard for that. All right, here we go.
Have you ever tweeted in the morning, God, I feel like crap. It's a crappy day, and I'm not going to get at it at all today. Have you ever done...
Never.
You've never said that?
No.
What is it?
Positive mental attitude.
What is it that you tweet every morning? You tweet, it's going to be a great day. Let's
get after it relentlessly.
Let's get after it relentlessly.
All right, I remember this one. There actually isn't too much there, but I agree with the sentiment. I think you have to be pragmatic in what can happen in markets. I think that's important. I think it's important to understand what's happening in the macro and different geopolitical issues and things that might impact your bottom line. But no matter how dark the world gets, I think you need to have an air of optimism in the future. And history tells us, especially in the stock market over the last 100 plus years, that you don't bet against America, and that if you're more optimistic than not, you're going to do better. So I think it's very important. Again, I say this a lot, but it's important to look for solutions, right? We want to see. We want to think about what good things can happen in the future. It's just very, very important. All right, so let's go through. I want to go through indices real quick and look at their monthly charts and see what they look like, and then we'll just start rolling through stocks and everything else. Looking at the S&P. So we're going to switch it to monthly. This monthly chart looks bullish as fuck. Bullish as fuck. So some of this stuff I'm looking at the first time with you, right? Because I was waiting for the charts to close. If you asked me, if you just gave me this chart and said, hey, is this investment bullish? Pushing up against the .618, bullish hammer, massive bounce off the .5, sitting right at the door of the .618 fib extension. This is as bullish as it gets. Anybody who thinks that we can't go to 64.50, I would say is pretty foolish. By the end of the year here, I think we could totally do that launch. And I was right about this too, right? I told you about a cup, I told you about a handle, and I told you about a measured move higher. Let's just look at this real quick. What was that measured move? That measured move, it's right around here. So 6,000, that's where we'll get some of our big potential drop, or at least maybe a back test before going up to the .786. But we're doing exactly what I said. We're doing a measured move for a cup and handle. This is beautiful. There is nothing to hate about this. Let's look at the NASDAQ on the monthly. Again, just another beautiful chart. I wouldn't say it looks as bullish as the other one we have, but it's a great looking chart. It's right in the middle. So again, you can tell the S&P is the real driver here. But again, the NASDAQ, instead of up 1% like the S&P, it's up 1.3%. This is a great looking chart. I can see us going higher. We just slowed down because we're overextended on the monthly time frame. Like, the market will take a breather here. It does happen. But if we go back and look at historical trends, look at how long and how high the market can be overextended to the upside. Look at 2018. Look at 2017. Look at 2014 and 15. Look at just how high. Look even more recently in the 2021 range. We can go a lot higher, guys. A lot higher. So I just think this is something that not a lot of people are paying attention to. Tom Lee is. Michael Howell is. I am. There's a few of us out there, but a decent amount aren't. And then the Russell. Let's look at the monthly on the Russell. So we've got another chart that looks just very powerful. Look at the wick we created. Look at how hard we bounced off of this. To me, this is insane looking. And if we bring it down to the weekly, I don't know. Can it be a cup and handle? Almost. Ugly looking cup. Handle. Very short handle. It's possible. But here's the thing. It doesn't really matter. The Russell is just going to take the lead from the S&P and the NASDAQ. If they're doing good, if liquidity is increasing, if people are becoming more risk on, one of the biggest benefactors will be the Russell. Now today, the NASDAQ was the one that outperformed, and then it was the S&P and then the Russell. But we could see some outperformance, really strong outperformance in the Russell very soon, and I think it still has 31%-ish upside from here. All right, let's see how the dollar's done on the monthly. So it was breaking down, trying to find support. I think this is a strong level of support. Could it roll under? Maybe. But I think, honestly, I've been saying it for a long time. I think we trade. And I think the markets can go higher. Rates will come down. And I think maybe we see further weakening in the dollar, but I think it can just stay here. And the monthly chart doesn't look horrible. It could go either way. But here's the thing I like. I like, again, this previous resistance level, how much we've been sitting on it and finding support. If anything, it looks like the dollar wants to go higher. And again, I could see it trading in this range, maybe even trying to get higher and then falling back down. But I don't expect it could do this. It could trade in this range for years, in my opinion, or at least a year. Let's look at gold on the monthly. Gold on the monthly. It looks solid. I mean, solid gold. Love it. I see what I did there. But yeah, this doesn't look weak at all. Let's see what we have for like RSI and other stuff. Boy, it's shown a lot of strength up in here. We're at levels we've only been at a few times in the last couple decades. So it could go higher, but I think 84 or something like there. I think gold is going to start to table off here, and we'll see that money instead rolling into things like Bitcoin. You can quote me on it. Oil looks like it might test down for the fourth time into this downward descending line. I don't hate that. I think that there's still potential for this to roll up and go higher. I think that's what happens next, but maybe we hang out here for another visit down to the 71. Like I said, I still thought we would overshoot and get into the high 60s before we saw the bounce. Maybe that's still what's going to happen. Let me look at the monthly. Sorry, this is a little weird. Do some... All right. Yeah, to me, I don't know. To me, gosh, man, looking at the monthly is giving me a different perspective here. I'm going to make this small. I want to change some things. Let's get rid of this. Ooh, God, dude, that looks bearish as fuck. This looks bad for oil. The price of oil looks like it's getting ready to drop. I'm just going to do something different here. Sorry, this is something that needs to be drawn. This is fascinating. Why is it my line? Oh, it's that. I'm trying to get this fucking line. I'm going to get rid of this. I'll worry about that later. All right, I'll just draw my new line and I can clean up my chart later. But look at this. So, one second. And I might have to draw this a little bit lower. But this is wild. This actually is starting to look pretty bearish to me. So we've had multiple touch points to the upside. And now it looks like this thing wants to potentially roll over. I mean, and you could do this too. This is probably more factually accurate of a representation. Yeah, it probably is. So this kind of looks like a descending, like a descending triangle that's going to just fall. This does not look great for oil. I'm just going to throw that out there. It is not what I thought it was. So I think that from a valuation of this, I think we could see major drops in oil, especially if Trump gets hired on here in November, and people get excited about his promises of increasing energy generation a lot. Boy, doesn't it seem like this could just break down and we could see oil in the 50s or 40s? Whew. This is why we got to go higher time frame every once in a while, guys. It gives you greater insight into the big picture. And here's the thing that some people don't realize is these larger time frames that we're looking at actually give you greater signal and have greater amounts of accuracy when you're looking at patterns on them because of their size. Sometimes they get too big, and they just won't work mathematically with the patterns that you're seeing. But this looks like it wants to roll over bad. All right, the MOVE index, the bond volatility index, is flat on the day. Doesn't look bad though. It looks like it's trying to test lower. Let's look at this on the monthly. Yeah, I would say this could roll over again. I would say this is a pretty big rejection on the monthly time frame, and that we could see us try and test lower. And if that happens, if the bond volatility is going down, and I again, that Michael Howell interview that I talked to, it talks about some of the reasons why bond volatility will go down and how the Fed will help manufacture that by controlling the long end of the curve on the bond market. So pay attention to it. I think that's exactly what's playing out. Very exciting. It looks weak on the monthly. Now this could break higher. One could say that it ends up being a bull flag, but I don't know if I see it yet. Again, that was a pretty weak monthly close. It got wicked down pretty hard. So we got to see how this next month goes. But I think the Fed is going to have the ability to be able to control the bond market and manipulate it and Treasury market in order to be able to do all the money printing they need to do. So that's what I'm thinking. Even though this could be considered like, I don't even know if you could consider it a bull flag. It's really too steep. If you look here, if we tried to draw this out, right, like that, and then we do something like this, you could probably say that it's still a bull flag, but I don't know, man. We'll see. It looks like it could test into the 85 range. And again, the thing about this is the time frames are pretty large. This is going back 2.5 years, just this. So we could trend over here maybe again well into 2025, which I think is what's going to happen before we end up recoiling and we see a lot of bond volatility. That will come from the markets really falling apart. And so maybe we trade down near this 200 moving average range on the monthly, and do that for all the way to the end of 2025. Something like this, and I'll just save this so I can be accountable for it. Something like that, right? We can do something like this. Actually, I should do this so it kind of shows what I'm thinking. Something like this, and then we crack higher, and the bond volatility starts kicking in as the Fed stops trying to control the yield curve. The 2-year bonds got a little boost today, but still looks really weak and like wants to fall over. Let's take a look out though. Yeah, again, we had such a high return on the 2-year. We went from rates that were 0.11% in February of 2021 all the way up to almost 6%, 5.7%. That was just a huge amount of interest people were earning over the short term. But the great thing is, as this rolls over, this just shows that the Fed is doing a good job drying out, or I should say the Treasury is doing a good job drying out older paper. And 2-year isn't really considered older. I mean, the 10, 20, 30 is going to be like older, but they're drying these out. They're not issuing as much short-term debt, or I should say longer-term debt, in order to be able to make it to where they don't have these debt obligations for years and years or decades and decades. So again, I think you'll see this roll over, and so you'll see the yield roll over on this thing, which will help everybody. Because again, if people aren't in short-term bonds, they're probably in stocks. All right, we have almost inverted. Close to inversion. We technically got to 0.01%, so one could almost call that uninverting. We'll see if it can hold it, though. This will be a fun one to watch. And let's see, we're on the 2-month just to get this viewable, so we won't learn a lot of greater insights in this one. But the question is, do we end up rolling over later? Oh, I'm sorry, we're negative 0.01%. So still, it's showing that it hasn't uninverted yet, and I actually think this will fall and will stay inverted for a while longer. That's my take. The yen. Let's look at the Chinese yen. The dollar has gained some strength up against the yen. So we're seeing the yen weakening. We don't want to see it weaken too much, but this is good. We're still well off what we were at when it was getting scary in the 161 range, when we were worried about a lot of problems from Japan, and that was that wasn't too long ago, right? That was a little over a month ago. Chinese yuan. Chinese yuan is it looks like the dollar is weakening against the Chinese yuan. Fascinating. All right, we'll see how that plays out. I might have to reevaluate my thoughts on this. I might have been wrong. The put call ratio on the monthly, it looks good. It's underneath. It's weak. We don't hate that. Not a lot of people hedging bets right now. All right, let's look here. I don't think we did Tesla yet for the monthly, did we? Oh, no, we did. My bad. So, again, this looks beautiful. I like the fact that we've got this large bounce off of it. I think this is a great place to close the 215. Would have been nicer to be up like around the 225, 226 level. I'm not going to lie. That would have just been bullish as fuck. But we're still in good territory. Do we grind? Do we stay around here? We could. We could for this next month. We could be here for a while. I think, though, that with everything happening on 1010, there's just a lot of good news that's going to be happening in the days ahead. And I think again, if we start to see Trump doing better, I think that makes this do well too, because Tesla will be a benefactor, just like Elon Musk. Let's look at PayPal. So Tesla had a great day, up almost 4%, including after hours. PayPal down 1%, but getting a little bit of recovery in after hours. This is not crazy. I'm going to switch to the monthly view. Might even check out weekly too. But I've been calling this. I've been saying that it's gonna be tough with resistance here. We could be here for a week. We could be here a little bit longer. This is a ton of volume sitting above us. We got this big open field, and we pushed really hard. Now, do I think a month from now we might have a 3 white soldiers pattern where we're above 80 on PayPal? Yes, I do. That's the way I'm leaning right now. I think there's a really good chance that we end up a month from now somewhere around here, and we see this kind of pattern, or maybe up against the next fib, and that would just be such a bullish pattern if that ends up being what's happening. But on a monthly candle print, we basically got our second candle for a 3 white soldiers, and if we get that third one, and they're so evenly placed, just look at them. Look at how even they are. And if we get that third one right over here, that's going to be really bullish for PayPal. It's going to be very exciting if we pull that off, guys. Very exciting. Thank you. Investing in Flux. Are you using options or stock? Just stock on Flux. I got options on DLO. I don't know how either one of these will do. They're smaller cap plays that I kind of got off of Rex, or at least I don't think I got DLO off of Rex. No, but I did get Flux. That was one of his. But again, I don't know if they'll do really great. I do think a lower rate environment will help them. And then with Flux, you got the whole EV narrative. Will that be beneficial though? If Trump gets elected? I don't know. There's a lot of thoughts to think about. But I don't hate the play at all. All right, PayPal. But again, it makes up less than 1% of my portfolio. Just keep that in mind. So PayPal, again, looks great. Let's get that 3 white soldiers. Hood, let's look at the monthly chart. Looks bullish AF. Bullish AF. Bullish AF. Again, Hood is such a great company. I'm at 100% alignment with my buddy Amit in regard to Hood. And for 1,100 days, that's what it's been since we were at the all-time high. And we just bounced hard off the .782, the 1, and now we're trying to go up to our next level here. The 1.618? Yeah. So it's very exciting. I think the chance of getting to 30 around this range is super high. And again, you don't even see resistance really kick in over here till around the 34, 35 range. This reminds me a lot of Palantir on Hood. So I think this is going to be easy money. Very excited about it. And again, they didn't have a bad day considering how far this monthly candle is beautiful. Just beautiful. Right above previous resistance levels. Just looks so powerful. So powerful. Very excited about Hood. SoFi, can you argue that this is bad? I don't see how. We have broken out of a channel that started all the way back in November of 2021, almost 3 years ago. And we're testing right underneath the .618. It's a great place to be. I think there's a high chance that by this next month, we've gotten to 950 or even are on our way towards 11.78, $12 range that we had hit a couple of like a summer ago, right? In July of 2023. So I think this is very strong. We're going to get a nice bounce. Now, again, we could have issues where we find resistance over the short term. Maybe it turns in like a weird cup handle, something. We could find short-term resistance around the $11.70, $12 range, all the way up to the $14 range. That's totally possible. I wouldn't discount the fact that that can happen. But again, a bullish hammer is nothing to laugh at. I think it looks pretty. The fact that we're just sitting underneath the .618. Square. I don't look at this chart much. Let's see what it looks like on the monthly. Might need to declutter a little bit. Let me get rid of this. Probably keep that. Yeah, I'll keep the rest of these. All right, so this is good. We're above peak volumes. Peak volumes that go all the way back to 2018 price action. So we've got 6-7 years worth of price action, and we're sitting here just waiting to go higher. I won't lie. I might have to reevaluate options again. Last time I looked at them, they weren't that great. But if they do start to become more attractive, I might have to look because I don't think it's crazy to think this thing can go to 120 in a year. I just don't think it is. And that's a doubling of where it's at. And if the multiplier is right underneath, it might be a good play. It just lets you diversify. When these things launch, some of them outperform others, and that can be really beneficial to your portfolio as you're able to liquidate some and then put it into your other favorite things. So like Square, I had a 400% or 500% return on my options with this one before I sold out of everything. And that was great, and it helped me a lot in making money because I sold that and then I bought other stuff. That's what I do. That's how I got 7x or 6. I kept saying 700%. It's 7x, 600% in 2023. Sorry, I went back and looked at the math and I'm like, I'm retarded. I gave another 100% that I didn't actually make. So it's 600%, 7x. It's important to remember the difference between x's and percentage. So I apologize. Usually I'm really good about that. But yeah, so anyway, Square looking bullish. Might even look at that further in depth as an opportunity to buy. I just think it's great. If you look here, you can see bullish divergence both on the MACD, on the RSI that goes back to July of 2022. It's not a bad time frame. Plus, I think Square benefits from the Bitcoin narrative. I've said that a bunch of times. Palantir looks great, trending higher. I do think, like I've said a billion times, all this bullish price action with this bearish divergence on the RSI and the MACD, I've only got the RSI up, is going to pull it down eventually. But let's clean this up real quick and look though at the monthly on this one. There is no complaints on this. You cannot complain. If you own Palantir, like all the people that sold down here, I can see why they would hate it. If you sold in the $6, $7 range and then it went up to 31, 32, God, you'd hate it. But this is a round trip. This is what we call a round trip. This is beautiful. Can it go higher? Sure. It's a $71 billion company. It was a lot cheaper down here around the $7 range when I was talking about buying it and when I made my 600K. But I don't know. Again, I think personally, I think this thing can roll over. If you look at just even the monthly time frame, look at how close we are to overbought. So I think eventually, there's gonna be headwinds on Palantir. I've said that for a while, but I think it will catch up. All right, so if we look at ARCG, let's go to the monthly. Let's zoom out here. Look at this one. So again, this is just a beautiful looking hammer. I love this. I love seeing this kind of stuff where we're bouncing high. If you look here, the size of this wick is something that we haven't seen since June of 2022. And even then, that wasn't like all the way near the top, right? This is like full body near the top. So this is just a beautiful looking candle, and one that I think is doing a good job of showing that we're going to go higher. I'll be happy when we get above like 32. When we get above 32 and we start establishing support, I will be bullish as fuck because we'll be right at the edge. Once we get past 32, we'll be right at the edge of a potential for a W bottom, breaking out of a trend that started really in April of 2022, 2.5 years ago almost. So very excited. And I think, again, if Trump's whole campaign is about deregulation, and we know that Balaji and Vivek really want to hit the FDA, and a lot of bullshit that's going on that slows down the process, benefiting big pharma. So I think we could see some stuff in genomics. I think we could really see this narrative take off in the future and become a lot more positive than it is today. And that's what I'm betting on. When I'm betting on Archie, I'm betting on the fact that these guys are going to win, and I'm betting on the fact that we see some large benefit in this investment from that. The monthly chart, I think, looks great. Let's look at Flux. So we've got a couple of these smaller ones that I had talked about and that people had gotten into. Flux, this is kind of like the midline. I should actually just make this yellow. So it's kind of like the heart line, they call it. And this trend right here, again, looks like we're falling. We really got to break out of this downward trend, and we'll try and put it like towards the candle body. But we really need to break out of this trend before you can become bullish on it and establish support. So it's really going to be a matter of getting above, the 460 range over here and then finding support. If we do that in the coming months and quarters, then we stand a chance for a breakout and just really testing this yet again. And I think the chance of that happening is probably pretty strong based on macro. I would probably sell out pretty good around the 760 range, or at least take some chips off the table and then hold this for the long haul. That's kind of my thought there. Let me look. Press the like button. I agree with that. If you guys could do that, that would be wonderful. It looks like we got less people here today, a little less than 200. Maybe I've gotten too political. Oh well, fuck them. All right. Let's see. Orange Capital, yeah. Day one reservation. Hold off on foundation. Yeah, if you got day one reservation, then hey, maybe you'll get it in 2 years. Because that's what I had, and if without the foundation, that's probably how long you're waiting. Because you're probably like 100. Like I don't know. Day one could still put you 100,000 deep. Maybe it's 1 year. But the question: who will they get priority to? The Cyber Beast? Non-foundation, I think they would do that first if they're able to, because they make more revenue off of it. You know what I mean? All right, let me see here. Let me keep reading. South Phil. Right now is a good time to buy. We already talked about that one. Let me go down. Poo Poo Train. Love the name. Elbow smash like mofos. Yes. C-list. China didn't have full lockdowns like some other countries. I think you mean. It was very regionalized until Omicron and the hard push from zero COVID. Their economy had it already peaked in 2000. Yeah, no, I agreed. But they did have full lockdowns. Full lockdowns. Trust me. I spend thousands of hours on China over the last several years, and those people were taking like the dab in the back, like up your nose all the way down to your fucking brain. They were doing that in some cases once a day just to be able to go out and do stuff. They had like 500,000 businesses, small business corporations collapse over that time. It was just there's so much pain in China. Agree on optimism, but there's also times to raise cash and wait. Yeah, I agree too. There's times where you definitely want to be more leaned in that corner. It's just really important not to listen to doomers that have been constantly wrong for the last 4 years. If you're listening to people like Game of Trades and a few others that have been telling you that the economy was going to collapse for the last 4 years, you didn't make 600% in 2023, did you? So again, just don't be some of these guys that are just like, oh, commodities are going through the roof and the economy is going to fall apart. Watch that fucking video from Michael Howell where I watch this interview and throw in my own commentary. It's really good, and it lets you know why we're not done yet. It's very important that you understand it. Dr. Gonzo, keep up the great work, dropping a like, and we'll hopefully be able to tune in after. Awesome, bro. Thank you for dropping the like. Jarrett Bell, maybe a reason Tesla spiked at the close. I'm sorry, what was the reason? Master the Game listed to Pomp and BlockFi, and they took about 18K in stable coins, supposedly gonna get it back, but not holding. You probably will, I think, with BlockFi. But yeah, it sucks. I know there's a bunch of people. People were pushing FTX. They were pushing, and everybody thought FTX was safe, but I didn't. I never put money into it. I didn't lose shit. But and then I tried to warn people about Luna Coin. I tried to get fucking people out. I did fuck around with it, and I bought a little bit of dip. I probably lost 20K in Luna, But that was just for shits and giggles to see if I could make a bunch of money off of it. Didn't happen, whatever. But again, it's important to know when to be frightened. It's important to know when to be frightened. I do agree with all that. And I'm sorry he lost with Pomp. He definitely lost a lot of reputation, even though I think he's a wonderful guy. He was very, very much with BlockFi, and he took a reputational hit. Albert, press the like. Thank you, bro. Shale, and why is oil price dropping so bad? I think it's just this continual. Again, I think so. A couple things. One, I don't think things are as bad. I don't think things are as bad in the Middle East as people are portraying them to be. I think Israel has a lot of control over what's going on in that situation. I think the fact that you haven't seen any real retaliations from Iran, or if they have, they've been pathetic. I think that plays a part of it. But I also think the polls are shifting dramatically. And if you look at them and you see a 4 or 5 point lead realistically by Donald Trump right now, which I think we're seeing, and you see states like Pennsylvania where it looks like he's winning. If he wins Pennsylvania, there's like a 93% probability that he's the next president of the United States, regardless of what else happens. So I think as that likelihood increases too, you'll see oil drop. Doesn't that make sense? Don't you think? Because again, if he's working hard to make it to where we're producing more, then we're looking at lower prices on energy across the board, right? That's the goal. The goal is to lower the price of energy by 50% in the first year. So do you think oil's going to crush it off of that? If we're already the leading oil producer in the entire world, and we're already at record fucking numbers right now, and we still have half the rig count that we used to have, don't you think that oil prices will come down? I wouldn't be long oil unless you think Kamala Harris wins. And even if she wins, she's just going to fuck our economy so bad that everything's going to slow down, especially China. If we're not alive, they're really fucked, because if we're not buying their products, they're just done. So I think either way, I don't see how oil does well. Can you guys tell me how oil does well in this situation? Please to God, tell me. Nick, always zoom out. Agreed. Sal says, did you ever do a summary vid on your return 7x last year? I don't think I did. Well, I mean, people that have been here for the ride know it, and I probably talked to it in other videos. It was just a matter of, in 2023, making a shit ton of money off of options right at the beginning of the year with Tesla and Meta. I made over $500,000 between the two. And then I took that money and I invested in Palantir shortly thereafter, Square, Robinhood. I made 500-600% on each of those. I made over 600,000 on Palantir, and then I moved those things into other bets, and I just kept doing that. And also too, at the beginning of the year, I sold a bunch of my calls where I had bought calls for CleanSpark mining when it was down in the dollars range, and then also I bought Mara whatever low it was at. So I did really well off of buying options at the right time. I don't like options most of the time, but this has just been one of those times where I think you're leaving money on the table if you don't have options that are long into a melt up. That's my take though. But that's how I made so much money in 2023. I placed bets that that Meta wouldn't stay down 75% or whatever the drop, whatever it was. It was a really low number. It was at numbers that it was near at IPO 10 plus years earlier. And it's just like I placed bets off of what I thought was very easy opportunity, and it was. Most of it was, and did really well. The only things I didn't do great on were PayPal, SoFi, and Archie. All of those have kind of underperformed, right? They didn't have their moment yet, but I think that's coming now. That's the summary. C-list. Those of you investing in Flux, are you using options or stock? I just did options. I didn't think the stock was good enough. Other people can speak to theirs. CK Lear, hey Jesse, what a week. Hopefully you're doing good. I'm doing fine, man. I think it's been a great week. I really politically, and I also think in regard to market investments, I think things are getting ready to sail. Maytag, nice move up on Tesla. You can't shake a stick at 4%. Albert, what do you think will take for SoFi to go round trip? A couple of quarters, maybe less. Sal Pal, can you look at CleanSpark's monthly? Yes, we should do that too. Let me do DLO real quick though, and then just because that's one I haven't looked at in a while, but I think that one could end up doing good too. And then we'll take a look at the Bitcoin miner type ones. And if you guys have other ones you want me to look at, let me know. Ooh, that beep was fucking. Ugh. All right, monthly. Sorry, sometimes when you get a notification, they happen like They happen and get really loud. I don't, most of those, that's why I have all this stuff on another computer so I don't kill you guys with the noise. So I have most of these charts on another PC that's running on 327-inch TVs, and then right at the market recap, I switched to this one, and so hopefully you don't get as many of these. Now DLO, that doesn't look like a bad monthly chart, dude. That looks like it's bottomed. The question is, can we get above 9 and start to just get higher? Real resistance for DLO, I think, comes in at 13. I have bought the dip on this a few times, but it's been a while. DLO, I do have options. They suck right now. They're down 62%, but I tell you what, man, that can turn around in a heartbeat. So really, I have about, does it show my cost basis? Yeah, 92,351. So this was a decent chunk. This is probably for what I put in, for what I have now. It's not much of anything, but it's sitting at a little over 1%. But this probably was 2% or something. Is that right? I don't know, something like that. I got to do the math. Anyway, let's look over here. So DLO, I think there's a good opportunity that we see a run to 1347, up 50%, I think, over not too long of a time, maybe like 2 quarters. And I think 80% could be in the cards too. Again, there's just so much opportunity, massive gap up here near in the 40s. And this thing, if I remember correctly, let me look. I want to look at Flux real super fast. And we'll make sure that we're looking at everything on the monthly. Just give me a sec. I want to look at Flux real quick under visual stocks and see how it's doing. It's got a forward PE of 34, so it got hit a little bit on more recent earnings. The negative net income, it really looked like there was a pattern where this was going to break into positive earnings. I want to see that happen. I think that's where Flux can really start to take off. But if I look here, they're not estimating for that. So I've just become a little less optimistic on Flux. The declining revenues and then the lack of becoming profitable bum me out a little bit. But if we look at the yearly, you can see revenue still looks very strong, and one could easily argue this is such a small company that they're getting crushed by higher rates and that they could benefit from lower rates that could really help them out. So that's kind of what I'm thinking on that one. Let's look at DLO though. We're super fast. Now this is an interesting one because again, net income looks like it started to get better in Q2 of 2024. That's why we got that nice bounce, whereas it had been trending down for 4 quarters. Revenue didn't go a lot higher, but let's look here at how this was doing before. So again, if you look at 2020, if you look here, it actually looks like we still have some decent growth, but revenue growth year over year was only up 6%. Forward PE is 18. What we really need to see is growth. These guys are guiding for higher revenue. If they can hit that, they can hit these EPS, then I think, again, we get that bounce that I was talking about. So I become more optimistic with it. Now let's look at Bitcoin. Let's do the Bitcoin on the monthly, guys. This is a fun one. So again, I will argue, and I'll just get rid of some of the blurry mess here. I would argue that this is bullish. We've had these wicks. I would have liked to have closed higher. I won't lie. It would have been way, way more positive to close like by 63 or something. But I still think this is super bullish. If we fall, worst case scenario, we're getting down to the 49,000 range. I'm okay with that. I hope it happens. I don't think it will. I think we're ready to rock. I really think we're ready to take off with Bitcoin. I mean, again, what it looks like is that we tested back to the 50 on the weekly moving average. But when Bitcoin really sails, I'll just look at it back over here. You can see that in a bull market, it might not even see the 50-week moving average. Or if it does, that's where it ends up finding support. And then it goes higher until the bull market is over. So I think that we're getting ready to see another launch. That's going to be my take, is that's what's happening. And we'll see what next month's candle looks like. Now, let's look at MicroStrategy. And then again, we'll start to jump into your guys' other charts too. MicroStrategy, if we look at the monthly, to me that looks great. Look at this. Look at what we did. We took the highest level it was at in February of 2021 during the last bull market, and we turned it into support again. I just think that's bullish. Mara, let's go to the monthly. Looking at Mara, we found support underneath the previous inverted head and shoulders pattern, even though this is a loose head and shoulders because the left shoulder here is really too long, right? So one could argue that it's almost not. But the things I love, we've been finding support underneath these levels or above these levels, I should say, which I like. Now, could we go down further? Yeah, but this is a bullish pattern. This is a falling wedge that looks like it wants to break higher. And I actually think that I would not be shocked at all before the end of this year, which is not that far off if you think about it, man. It's September, October, November, December, right? 4 months. I would not be surprised to see Mara go up 176%. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that's very doable, or at the very least, it would reach. No, I think 100 to 170. I think the higher end of that is more likely, in my opinion. All right, let's look at CleanSpark. How's this one doing? CleanSpark actually had it pretty rough. Closed down below the 200 moving average on the weekly. So that sucks. That could show further price pressure down. If that's what happens, again, my hope right now is that Tesla pumps, PayPal pumps. Maybe we get some ARKG. Again, Hood, I think, is just going to pump. With me having options in all of those, I would love to see, and maybe Hood grinds sideways. Maybe that happens. I would love to see CleanSpark roll over more. I would love it. I just don't think I'm going to get lucky enough for it. But God, if we could get down to 8, that would just be incredible. But again, you have to remember that we've already done this, right? We've already gotten down to 930, a 62% drop from the recent high. Are we going to get lucky enough for that to happen? You can hope so, but I wouldn't bet on that kind of shit, man. It will not be nice to you when you do. And again, not as bullish looking of a candle. Definitely had a hard time getting above this peak volume here and staying above it. That's what really needs to happen. We need to get above 17 and stay above it. But that said, if we look here and we draw this out, I think there's potential for CleanSpark to go anywhere from 133 to 200%, plus 210% in the next few quarters, next quarter and a half. So by the end of the year, and wouldn't that be great if you make, especially with my calls, if I make 200% in the underlying, my calls can do a multitude of that. And right now with calls on CleanSpark, I have 108,000. So I've been shifting money from the stock and leveraging myself into the calls. And so I could get 3x that, so maybe 600% in a short period of time just with that move. And I don't think that's anywhere near close to the end, because we've got all of 2025, or at least, half to 3/4 of 2025 for this to rock and go higher. So I'll just be unlevered by then. I'll probably be out of CleanSpark. If CleanSpark goes up 200%, I'm probably out of the calls, guys. I'm not crazy. I'm going to use that to redistribute to other Bitcoin-related investments and maybe buying more Tesla and stuff, or buying Palantir. I don't own really any Palantir. Maybe I'd buy Palantir. So that's kind of the idea there. Let's go to Cypher. And now I'll start looking at your guys' requests here. I will probably respond to comments again in a second, and then I'll get back to your guys' requests. But I'm trying to make sure we get all the way through stocks. And we've been doing this in an hour, not too bad. So Mara, no, that's not Mara. Oh, so this one did get erased. I got to do this. I'm just going to do this real quick, guys. I'm going to make sure. I forgot. There we go. I got to reprogram my button once I remember how to do that. Monthly. So we closed underneath. Let's do this real quick. Closed underneath peak volumes. This is a weird looking one. This one really wants to break higher. All these little wicks have been its attempt to go higher. We got all the way up to $8, and now we're down 55% plus. I think we're going to launch above this fairly soon, and I think the ability to test past much higher levels. But again, the monthly chart on this one doesn't look great, but I think you could see 156 to, honestly, the previous high. I think you could see 156 to 235% returns on this one. And this is such a small cap that it could go a lot higher. Again, I don't own any options on this at all. There's just I didn't see any good options with this. All right, let me see here. So Albert said, I have a friend who made around 27,000% gain on Luna coin after it collapsed and the coin bounced hard at one point. He accidentally picked up the bottom perfectly. That's awesome. Cool, man. Hopefully you got the fuck out. JJ the Savage, we need gas refineries. It's going to take a minute to get on. Oh, dude, we need all of it. We need all of it right away. We need to lower energy prices. That's how we make America great. cheap energy. We need to really crank energy. It's one of the things that China is doing well. Energy production is the one thing that China is really excelling at, and we need to do it better than them. Michael Myers, yep, lost my conviction listening to Amit. Lost a life-changing amount of money. Glad Jesse helped me get some back. What do you mean by that? Can you elaborate, Michael? I'd be curious. What he was saying that was that made you lose some money and lose conviction. What was it into? Nick Lanza, CVS, Silas Coin, Albert. You talked multiple times about that the height of liquidity cycle. You'll start hedging. What stocks or sectors or historical perform well with when liquidity shrinks? I think that you're going to see the 20-year bond do really well because I think that's the part of that video that I was talking about with Michael Howell. And his thesis was that at the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, we would see the government try and create some kind of depression. I shouldn't say depression, some kind of drop in the stock market, a short, probably and shallow one, just enough to push people into the long 20-year, 30-year bond market. Because right now, there's probably not going to be a lot of interest, and they'll need to create at least a short-term drop in the stock market to be able to get people jumping back into bonds and thinking that the U.S. is the safe haven. Now, if the U.S. has a stockpile of Bitcoin, and we're leaning towards Bitcoin, and we even maybe talk about buying Bitcoin in the future because Trump's gotten elected, and you're seeing a crash in the stock market. Because again, if we melt up, it's got to stop at some point, right, guys? So I think it would be insane to think that by the end of 2025, beginning of 2026, that we don't have some kind of stock market correction that is major in a way, even if it's short-lived. They can do the money printer, they can do all kinds of stuff, but we want to push people back into bonds because bonds are what allow us to pay our bills over the long haul. So I do think that, like Michael Howell said, we'll see something like that. And I would think the 20-year would actually be a great opportunity if because right now they're artificially suppressing the price of the long end of the curve, which all that means is like 20, 30-year bonds and higher would be if we end up doing a 100-year bond. I don't know if we'll end up doing that or not. But if you can get confidence back in the market, in the U.S. government, that we're cutting costs, that we're deregulating, that we're the cleanest shirt in the dirty laundry, even still a year plus 2 years from now, then you can, if there's an economic downturn around the world, you can drive people back into the bond market and you can make it to where our debt is more sustainable. So I think that's what I'm talking about. I think that the bond market could do good and the dollar could do good. What else will do good? Probably hedges, short plays on stocks that are really too overextended. And I can't tell you what that's going to be a year and a half or 2 years from now. That we'll have to figure out when it comes. You know what I mean? So that's my take there. I'm going to do coin real quick and then I'll dial back to these others. We will look at some new stuff, but I'm just trying to switch it up and save it for last today. So anybody who wants to look at new stuff will be able to do that later. Let's go into coin. So again, coin is playing off of Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does well and bounces well, or maybe it meanders. Here's the thing. In Bitcoin's history, September usually sucks. Will it suck this time around? I don't know. My bet is that it doesn't. But if it does, I actually probably benefit even more if Tesla ends up taking off and these other plays start to take off because global liquidity is expanding. That's one of the things we'll look at in a bit. Coin. So coin, I feel like coin could retrace, at least based on the weekly. Let's look at the monthly. Not as strong as others. And again, one could argue that we could have this big measured move where this is a cup and then we're drawing the handle right now. So could this go lower? Maybe it could. I don't know. I don't know what happens with Bitcoin over the next month. There's things telling me it should go up. There's things telling me it can go down. I don't know. I'm very well invested. I've got a lot of money in Bitcoin. Between my private stack and everything else, I've got a lot. Millions, right? So I'm good. So whatever happens, happens. But I don't know if this looks as strong. This could be the bounce, though. To me, it's a coin flip. It's a coin flip on Bitcoin and related investments. Over the next month. Now, you ask me 3 months from now, the end of the year, again, I think I'll have made anywhere from 2 to 6x some of these investments. And with the kind of money that I have in there, if we say that on average, I get between now and the end of the year a 3x, which I think is very possible, then I'm looking at, $6 million roughly in asset value between now and the end of the year. And I'm not angry about that at all. That would be a very good year for me. And I think that's what's coming. All right, let's look. I want to make sure I might do CVS here real quick, but I'm going to roll back. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. If you guys got a stock request, let me know. Okay, so that was coin up in the beginning. I got that. Tesla, we got it. Coin, please. Bunch of people asking about coin. Yeah, so I did all those. Let me see. Does anybody have anything else? CLSK, we did that. Tesla, we did that. All right, so let me see here. So I'll do CVS up next, but let's see. Albert said you talked. Oh, no, that was the other one. Again, if you guys have anything else, Michael, if you want to add anything to what you were talking about with losing money with a mid, I'd be curious to know exactly what like investment you're talking about and why you lost conviction. It'd just be interesting to know. Let's look at CVS. Also, you guys interested in tech or anything else? If you got any others that you want me to do, is that Onion? Onan? I'll take a look. Sure. All right, CVS. Let me get this in here. There might actually end up being a CVS outside, not too far away from my house here soon. Be very interesting to see if that happens. I think since I live in kind of an urban area, I wouldn't hate that. Be kind of convenient, but also might get some bums. Definitely a lot of that. CVS is under the 200 moving average. It had a gap. Oof. That's kind of scary. Seems like CVS might be a mismanaged company. You know what? They're probably getting robbed all the time. Let's see here. I don't know a lot. I haven't looked at earnings for these guys, but this looks like a double top. Looks ugly. Measured move for this thing, if this was a real double top, could be like bad. Could be real bad, dude. Like it could yeah, I don't know. It could push it into there's probably support. There's probably support down here, you would think, in the 30 range. Let's look at the actual financials on it, though, and see if it's a shit company or an okay one. And then I'll make sure to pull up the chart, too. I don't know if I looked at that in monthly. I probably should. Yeah, no, that was month. Was it month? Oh, yeah, so this is the way back. So this is the way back. Boy, this is just an ugly pattern. Under the 200 monthly. This is under everything, dude. Everything. That's such an ugly looking pattern. What does it look like here? So virtually no growth, 3% growth. Forward PE is 8.69. They still make money, 1.77 billion. That's not a bad number. It looks like they're trying to raise more cash and bonds. They still have a decent amount of debt. They're buying back shares. Operating expenses aren't crazy. Let's look at estimates. Estimates are a little bit of growth. So maybe single digit growth still. They are buying back, so somebody has belief in this. I don't know, man. The chart looks like shit on the monthly time frame. The weekly, a lot of it. But let's see. You know what? I didn't look at, let's see. We didn't do this, right? Let me see real quickly. Is there an RSI? No, none of that stuff's in here. Oh, there we go. It did pop up. I just had to expand. So one could argue, though. So even though this part looks like it is beat up, it's under the 200 moving average. Let's see what it looks like, though, on the weekly time frame. Yeah, it's hard to derive anything from this. One could say that there's bullish divergence that started to form in 2023, early 2023. So maybe this ends up being a bottom, and we can find a pop higher. Because again, the chart is not far away from oversold on the weekly time frame. On the monthly time frame, it's getting close to some of the most oversold levels that it has. So even though this kind of looks like a double top, one could argue that the actual fundamentals of the company don't look bad. You can see them buying back their stock. You could see them still estimating at higher returns. And a forward PE of 8 is just stupid low. So if the economy's taken off and people don't think that this is going to fail, I could see these guys getting a little bit of a bounce, maybe. So maybe CVS isn't as bad as I thought it was at first glance. Let's draw real quickly a trend-based fib extension. And then after this one, I think, since we rolled through all of this, I am going to jump back over and do some news-related stuff. Yeah, okay, I'll read that in a second here, Mike. Michael Myers. Love that name. Love the horror. All right, so let me see here. Trend-based extension. I feel like we should draw this from I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to know where to draw this one. This one's pretty wild. I'm going to say down here. I might have to revise this later on if I see like a better place. But I'm going to, you know what? Maybe I will. I don't know. March of 2020 is probably like the spot, but this had a weird bounce on March of 2020. Let's go all the way back to the GFC. We'll do the really, really broad time frame view of this, and then we'll draw it over to here, and then back down to here as the low. So if we're looking at mega trends, I could see this thing coming back to 75 if the fundamentals are good and the economy isn't falling apart. And then it'll get a tougher resistance at 95. I don't know. I don't know. In historical reference, in 2008, when the economy really took a shit, this thing went from 44 to 23. So it has proven its ability to get cut in half, but it also did more than that recently here. It went down 60% recently. So again, maybe we get a good bounce and this thing goes up. Maybe it even tests the .618 in the year plus ahead before rolling over again. He was bashing Nvidia every day as it was going down in 2022. My largest position. See, he was pretty. Amit was pretty naive when it comes to markets and in investing. I think in 2022, I don't know if he knew shit. But yeah, what a missed opportunity. Nvidia. Yeah, that would have been a great one. So you sold in January of 2023. Oh, dude, that fucking sucks. Were you following me at all? I didn't even have a YouTube channel. And I was probably just starting on X. I'm so sorry, Michael. That sucks, dude. You just sold at the worst fucking possible time. I'm blocked now, of course. He celebrated every day as Nvidia went down. It's my fault for losing conviction and listening to him. That would have been. There's probably a lot of people that were like you though, dude. So you can rest with that, right? I wasn't preaching Nvidia being positive back then, and they just executed on so many levels. I wouldn't. That sucks, but I wouldn't kick yourself too hard. And Amit was not the same person he is today. I actually think he's gotten a lot better. But that sucks. That sucks. Logan, appreciate you, Jesse. I'm here for every market recap stream. Thanks, Logan. That's really kind of you, man. I'm glad to hear it. Hopefully I'm providing value. All right, we're going to jump back here, guys. So I feel like we did a pretty good job. We went through U.S. economy. We went through a lot of these other quick signals and indicators and the indexes and different investment types. I feel like we did all that. I'm going to jump over here real quick on Bitcoin news, and then we're going to jump into Tesla news, and then I think I'll just run through this one more time and see if there's any other investment things. It looks like a few of you brought out a few more: Amazon, Onan, Lulu, Oracle. I'll take a look at those before I go. All right, Vivek pointed to this. He said 1.7 trillion Wells Fargo advisors to actively pitch Bitcoin ETFs in September. Here we go. So again, Bitcoin historically worst month. But we've trended sideways to down ever since the halving, and technically we look like we want to break out. So maybe that's what happens. Now, could we roll down here in the optimism, the Nupal with the heat map? Maybe. And that's net unrealized profit loss for the indicator that we're talking about. But again, historically, if we look at time frames, we're most likely sitting in a bear trap. Now, whether or not that takes until the end of September to pop, I couldn't tell you. But that's probably where we are. And then we're going to have a massive bullish run. And you don't want to miss that. CNBC. This is fascinating. Kind of political, but again, politics is the thing right now. So let's talk about how it intertwines with our investments. CNBC reports that almost half of all corporate money raised for the presidential election is from Bitcoin and crypto. They're outspending big oil and banks so far. Where the crypto cash is going, winds have followed. So I think that shouldn't say crypto cash. Where money has went historically is where winds follow. And I would say most of this is going to Donald Trump, guys. I don't know about you guys, but just objectively trying to think about it, this is going to Trump. Let's listen.
Years ago, former President Trump called Bitcoin a scam. But just last month, he spoke at the year's biggest Bitcoin conference and praised Bitcoin, comparing it to the steel industry a century ago. A great story on CNBC.com today about how Trump went from skeptic to believer. And joining us is the reporter behind the story, Mackenzie Segalis. Mac, welcome.
Hey, Tyler. So for months now, I've been talking to the people who have quietly been helping to orchestrate Donald Trump's total about-face on crypto behind closed doors. The former president's 180 on digital tokens goes back to at least March. Now, that is when 3 Bitcoiners living in Puerto Rico got in touch with the Trump team and joined a chorus of voices, a group that includes Trump's family and friends, that has been actively pushing pro-crypto talking points. We're talking secret meetings at Trump Tower in Nashville and Mar-a-Lago, plus a slew of sideline fundraising events. Now, all in, they have promised him $100 million and 5 million votes. They've raised 25 million so far, and I'm told that an updated fundraising figure is coming my way soon. Now, Trump is listening, leaning into increasingly pro-Bitcoin talk on the campaign trail. People telling me that he's been learning, as experts have explained that the industry.
I'll actually argue, I think that he should be doing a lot more pro-Bitcoin investing and innovation. He spends way too much time shit-talking Kamala Harris and even making comments about how, like, wind energy, birds are getting killed, just stupid shit. He should stop that talk. He should talk about getting energy prices down by 50%. He should talk about leaning into the financial services world with Bitcoin and crypto. And he should talk about innovation. He needs to... He can throw out some disses, or he can let other people do that. He can let J.D. Vance talk shit. He needs to focus on his vision, and this should be a big part of it. If he does more of that, he's just going to crush this election.
Is real and not overrun with criminal activities. There's also the matter of all that cash being raised and donated by crypto executives and businesses. In fact, almost half of all corporate money raised this cycle is from crypto. They're out
Half of all corporate money is coming from crypto. Isn't that amazing?
spending big oil in banks, and so far, where the crypto cash is going in the primary races.
It's so wild to me that elections aren't getting easily bought out by big oil and banks. That used to be the way it was. And pharma.
Wins have followed. We're talking a more than 85% win ratio so far when pro-crypto super PAC money is involved.
So these are pro-crypto forces that are donating this money. They're not necessarily donating it in crypto.
Well, some of them are,
Some of them
actually.
are, but
a mix
sure.
of Bitcoin, Ether, USDC, more than $4 million worth of cryptocurrencies going to the Trump campaign.
So these would be companies, these would be lobbying groups,
Yes.
professional organizations, et cetera.
And it's especially the companies that are battling the SEC and Chair Gensler. Ripple and Coinbase are two
Remember what Trump said? I'll fire Gary Gensler on day one.
of the biggest backers of pro-crypto super PACs. Not necessarily the Trump campaign in particular, but certainly Parashik is one of
Bitcoin, comparing it to
my
the
bad.
steel industry.
Coinbase's chief policy officer, saying that they've been meeting with the Harris team behind closed doors, and they're very pleased about those talks.
Fantastic.
Okay. Sorry, I need to get back to that.
Support emerging technologies. Meanwhile, Coinbase's chief policy officer saying that they've been meeting with the Harris team behind closed doors, and they're very pleased about those talks.
Fantastic. Mackenzie, thanks.
Yeah, we'll see. They're just trying to hedge their bets. I'm not pleased about any of that. I think, again, that Zoom call was a joke with Munchin, whatever the fuck his name is. It was all a joke. So I don't think anything good's coming out of that. Silas, you said Amit is good on Palantir and Hood due to much ferreting, but he's a newbie in investing in general. I think he is. And again, he's had wins like anybody. And Amit's a great dude. I really like him. Michael Myers says, I used to listen to the Finance Junkies, but it's only Jesse now. I'm a high school dropout, tattoo artist, single dad, late to investing, only 4 years. I've done well, but 200 shares would change. Hey, dude, I appreciate that. The Finance Junkies crew is a bunch of really good people. I like them. But I appreciate you listening to me. And you sound like I'm a high school dropout too, man. I went to high school for a year and a half. I definitely wasn't an economics major of any kind, but you kind of figure out what you love to do in life if you try hard enough. And I've been blessed enough to be able to figure that out. And I hope you're blessed in the future too. Bitcoin Magazine, over 110 businesses are now building on Bitcoin in Africa. This is like Bitcoin Lightning. This is just Bitcoin in general type businesses for transferring money. Look at this, guys. Africa will benefit greatly from this if they embrace this over, a CBDC from China and getting money from China. They will do so much better. But it's awesome to see this kind of work going on in Africa. Vivek said, $7 trillion Chinese world's largest bank, the ICBC, says Bitcoin is much better than gold. Again, China can't afford to do what it did the last time when the world moved to the gold reserve. They can't afford to be stuck on the equivalent of silver. It destroyed them last time and kept during the times of, Chairman Mao. There were 50 to 60 million people that died in China. They can't afford to not be a part of what could be the next world reserve currency. And if it isn't the U.S. dollar. I think they're really understanding very quickly that it's going to be Bitcoin because it sure as fuck ain't going to be them. So they got to hedge their bets too, right? Also, AO posted, Bitcoin bull run begins. He was showing a bullish cross on the MAs, the moving averages. And he said every time a bullish crossover of these MAs, a bull run begins. And if you look at the timing of it, for when we have it and when the run begins, it looks beautiful. And we just had it. We haven't grinded up yet. We're late. So if anything, we want to go higher. Could there be some suppression in that? Totally possible. Definitely possible. I think that's okay, though. It's only a matter of time before the valve cracks and we start to see money flowing in like crazy. Caleb said Bitcoin's flashing a bullish RSI divergence on the 1 hour candles for the first time since August 5th. That's a short time frame. I don't pay much attention to it, but could be good. And again, Cantney's Cap, my buddy, poor guy got hacked. He's got a bunch of people trying to get, or these people break into his account at night and then push Telegram stuff directly from his channel. Or his account. That sucks. But he's a good dude. He said Mara doesn't need no hymns. It's got a God candle when it comes to institutional ownership this month. Said no Telegram, don't click scam links. So there's people trying to basically commit fraud with his account. So it sucks for him. He's trying to work with X to fix it. But look at the amount of institutional ownership that's went into Mara recently. It's a lot. And again, I said, if you're not an idiot, you can see what's coming next. Now, to be clear, Kevin Svensson shows that we could still drop. We could drop to that 49,000 range. It's possible. Excuse me. It's possible. Now, I thought we would have bounced from here. I still think that's possible, but could we go to 49? Fuck, maybe. But doesn't matter. The next move is up. So if we get to 49, use that as an opportunity and enjoy it because it won't last. Now, let's see here. What else we got? Funding rate turns green, bullish. So again, funding rate is revolving around. That was on August 28th. I don't know that it's still there. And Bitcoin Magazine, $79 billion Dell Technologies Q2 earnings call is scheduled for today. They did not talk about Bitcoin. Now, people are getting excited, though, because they do think that they're one of the companies that would embrace it as a treasury asset sooner than later. So we'll keep an eye on them. Chicken Genius, he's a buddy of mine. I didn't know what to think with him. I've definitely argued with him on Rivian. But he's a good dude, and I like him. And he's followed me, and we've had some good conversations. And I don't know. My opinion of him is pretty high. Anyway, he shows global money supply, 9 weeks leading, how it's leading Bitcoin, and how we're looking to have a breakout here soon in Bitcoin. We're well overdue for it. So I think that's what's going to happen, and I agree with it. And Vivek said $6 billion worth of Bitcoin shorts will be liquidated at 65K. That number's probably a little bit different today, but I do agree. And yeah, I think that's it. What does it got? Fiat controls you, Bitcoin sets you free. 100% true. A piece of paper. I'm a piece of paper, and I control your entire life. I think that's so poetic. This is a Democratic senator. He's great. I forget his name. He is brilliant. He's a great example of Democrats that can cross the aisle and understand Bitcoin. But he was talking about Pokemon cards and then NFTs, and he basically backed Gary Gensler into a corner with saying that NFTs are potentially a security, but a Pokemon card isn't, which doesn't make any fucking sense because there's plenty of NFTs that are basically like digital Pokemon cards. And now they're going after OpenSea. And so again, they're attacking again right now the government that controls the Kamala Harris, Joe Biden regime, the Elizabeth Warren, Gary Gensler regime is still attacking crypto. So don't expect them to say good things, guys. Don't expect them to do good things. I think that's the gist. And remember this. Remember this. I'm this guy. I've been this guy a bunch of times in my life, and it's made me rich. Bitcoin will never recover from this crash. You're wrong. You want to be this guy. You want to be the guy telling people they're wrong. It will benefit you greatly. I think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. That's it from the Bitcoin front. Let's jump over to Tesla real quick. And then PayPal. PayPal's had so much good news. We'll probably talk about that one too. Oh, 1 second here. Whole Mars catalogs like Cybercab unveil Los Angeles on 10/10. So we know it's in LA and we know it's at Warner Brothers Studio, which is very interesting. I'm not sure why it's there, but this is a first as far as I know. It says self-driving car prototype to be unveiled October 10th in Burbank. EV company has been prioritizing autonomy and AI work. I think we're going to start rocketing here soon. Elon Musk said, it feels like magic when Tesla posted just on the 29th yesterday. FSD can drive you almost anywhere nowadays. Again, he's being very bullish at the point where we're actually getting ready to release major product details. Whereas it's different than just giving optimistic dates, talking and saying the product itself is amazing. I can't wait. I'm still waiting on Hardware 3, still waiting on the Cybertruck. Probably going to be getting those in the next couple of weeks here if all goes well. I'm so excited. I might even do some videos, like I said. Hardware 3, my why, I probably won't do a video, but like the Cybertruck, maybe I'll do a video showing how well it's doing and driving around town and give you guys some glimpse of it. Now, this is something I wanted you guys to see here, so I won't go over the 20-minute video, but this says Glenn articulates the evil tyranny of Moraes well. This is the head of judicial, whatever, Supreme Court. He's got a very high rank. He looks like Voldemort. He's an evil motherfucker. He is the one that's trying to entrap Tesla, or I should say Elon Musk with X, and they're going after right now the business with Starlink. And so Elon is literally trying to save free speech in Brazil. He had to remove an executive from the country in order to prevent them from being imprisoned and used as a bargaining chip. So they had to basically end their business there as far as having employees in that region or anybody representing them, because they don't want them to be imprisoned potentially for the rest of their life or however long this regime and dictatorship lasts. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the Biden administration from all levels of government interfered in Brazil's 2022 election to remove the equivalent of Trump that they had in that country. This is becoming public knowledge now, and people are starting to understand the gravity of how much they've interfered in our election and in the election in Brazil. And that's how we got this puppet government that embraces communism and that is trying to censor anybody with dissent against their own constitution. So Elon's fighting the good fight. Now they're going after Starlink. Starlink is still going to give the service for free because there's a bunch of schools and other places that use it. So he will not be collecting revenue on that, but he'll be doing what's right for humanity. If you don't support Elon Musk, I don't have a lot of respect for you, because it tells me one of two things. It tells me either A, you're a political hack, or B, you don't do your homework. And both of those things I have very little respect for. So, but he's doing great things, and he's trying to save the world, man. Alex even said he showed in Brazil how there were this is in the Philippines, I'm sorry, remote rural schools that benefit from Starlink now, and these people can get internet where they didn't have it before, and they're doing the same thing in Brazil, even though the government is trying to go after X, and they're only going after X, right? They're not going after Meta. They're not going after Instagram. They're not going after WhatsApp, because it sounds like Zuckerberg is probably complying with whatever censorship they're asking for. So Zuck might be sorry about what he's done in American politics with the apology letter that he wrote to the U.S. government and the fact that he allowed the FBI to convince him to censor information during an election. But he doesn't seem to care about Brazil. So keep that in mind. How sincere is he? I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't want to go to prison in the United States. Now, Sawyer Merritt says Tesla, there's tons of incentives for Tesla in Colorado, and that if people actually took advantage of them, they could get a Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive for as low as $12,000. Isn't that insane? If you live in Colorado and you don't run around in a Tesla, I don't know what you're thinking. Alex, he said, Elon Musk won't punish the people of Brazil for the illegal acts committed by the tyrant. Here's Voldemort, guys. Here's Voldemort. This is him. He just looks like an evil piece of shit. Anyway, he said they'll provide Starlink users in Brazil with free internet rather than shutting it off. This is what unwavering integrity looks like, and I agree with that 100%. He said many remote schools and hospitals depend on SpaceX Starlink. SpaceX will provide internet service to users in Brazil for free until this matter is resolved. We cannot receive payment, but don't want to cut off anyone. That is a good person, and that is why I love this man so much. Again, this is just this is a huge win for X. This says breaking: the judge overseeing Elon Musk's X defamation lawsuit against Soros-backed Media Matters just denied their motion to dismiss. Media Matters could now be forced to pay back all of the ad revenue X has lost as a result of their lies. Last year, they manipulated X to coerce many advertisers to leave the platform. They made it look like X was serving ads next to hate speech. Remember that? But in reality, they set the whole thing up to frame Elon and the platform. They tried to claim the federal justice in Texas did not have jurisdiction to hear the case, but the judge wholeheartedly rejected their claim. Because the court has personal jurisdiction over defendants, venue is proper. Plaintiff has properly pled its claims. Defendant motion to dismiss denied. So that we're going to court. If they win this, if X wins this, man, it's going to be a windfall for X, and it's going to be a lot of pain for George Soros's kid who's managing his money right now. But this is what happens when you try and fuck with Elon Musk. God bless him. All right. Yeah, just again, another win. Breaking: Elon Musk. Tesla wins dismissal of lawsuit claiming they rid Dogecoin's price. That's also off the table. Again, this guy's going to win. Remember what Elon said to you a year or two ago? He said that they're going to start suing the shit out of everyone and that their legal team is going to grow massively. So don't bet against Tesla now, man. Shit is on like Donkey Kong. And again, I said that Tesla was going to go up and bounce off the 200. It did it. I talked positively about NVIDIA. It has not performed as well yet, but I think it will. Also, Tom Lee said, sign of equity market strength to see the Fed balance sheet shrink so dramatically and yet stocks gain. So again, the Fed's been running off their balance sheet. They ran it off that are levels that are worse than the great 2008 financial collapse and what happened in August 19th of 2019. So, but at the same time, though, they're fucking around with they're using the Treasury and running off that account, and trying to control the yield curve. They're doing a lot of funny business behind the scenes to make it to where we still are seeing an increase in global liquidity, or U.S. liquidity, which helps for global liquidity. All right. This one real quick. The naysayers of Tesla always amaze me with their arrogance, even after being proven wrong time and time again. I just remember, again, Alex put, it will never work without LiDAR. It will never work without radar. It will never work with just cameras. It will never work with that few of cameras. It will never work with this camera. It will never work if a camera isn't installed at the front. It will never work. And Elon just laughed because, again, this has been the narrative, right? It will never work. It will never work. Son of the Walkie said, this was yesterday, William Blair analysts say Tesla stock is a buy because it's Apple-esque. I agree. This shows the Tesla Model Y. Okay, so I think we got to, yeah, we're pretty close. Again, this is a Cybertruck hauling 3,600 pounds. It doesn't even have sag in it, even though there's 3,600 pounds on it because the suspension auto adjusts. That's my baby. A bunch of other stuff. Tesla semi truck spotted at Giga Berlin. So just again, they're trying to figure out what they can get in what countries and where they're going to build. And we're looking at a massive ramp, I think, in the future with the Giga Semi. Also, the Georgia police were talking about how great this Tesla Model 3 is. Wait till they get the X, or I'm sorry, the Model Y. Wait till they get the Cybertruck and start using those in fleets. Something that's bulletproof up to a 45 caliber. Just look at this.
There's a new patrol car in town.
501-911-1097.
In this case, it's electric.
The acceleration on these is much better than anything we currently have.
To be exact, this car can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in just 3 seconds. But that's not the only thing that persuaded officials to go green. Douglas police currently have 33 patrol cars in its fleet. The average lifespan of a regular patrol car is 7 to 8 years. Police Chief Brennan Pruitt tells me the Tesla will have a longer lifespan while saving the department thousands of dollars.
We did have to pay a little bit more to have these completely outfitted, but by that savings for the gas, the oil changes, the brakes, it's still looking at $50,000 to $80,000 in an 8 to 10 year period of savings for the citizens.
$80,000 in savings over a period of 8 to 10 years. That's huge. And it's only going to get better. Again, just all the other stuff that Elon is doing in regard to space flight. JP Morgan bought 5.63 million in Tesla stock in Q3. Big funds are buying the dip. Again, it's just one of those things where Goldman Sachs bought 2.85 million since May. It's all this stuff. And again, I love this meme showing Elon and free speech and working hard to take care of it. I love this. I talked about this briefly in another one, and this is where we'll stop. It just has to do with Starlink saving lives. And it says, even if an entire region or country lost connectivity because of a severe natural disaster, or let's say the shit that's going on right now in Brazil, even if all cell towers are taken out, your phone will still work for emergency cases. So if there's emergencies like government overthrows or something where they're trying to block services and prevent cell phone service, Elon could literally turn this on. Think about that. All right, let me get back to comments here. I do want to show PayPal. I don't show a lot about PayPal. You guys can look online for it. But again, Crossroads talking about 6 months earlier, people said PayPal was dead. They said PayPal was an opportunity cost going forward, that there was zero innovation, that competition was killing them, that they're going bankrupt and going to zero, and that none of those things are happening. And it's actually up 40% over that period of time. And again, you can see the partnerships with Fiserv that Alex Chris got. Again, Alex Chris is a winner. You can see PayPal doing agreements with Crypto.com and PYUSD. You could see HelloFresh adopted PayPal's Braintree optimization suite, and they're seeing improvement on close. You could just there's so many different arrangements and agreements that have been happening. I think I'm maybe even missing a few in here, but there's just so many positive things that are going on right now for PayPal. So pay attention to that, and don't ignore it, or if you do, it's going to be at your own loss, not mine. All right, let's look at what other stocks you guys had. Let's go through them real quick here. I know ON. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna assume I don't have it, dude. But I will pull it up. So let me save CVS here. Let me make a copy. ON. Let me save this. Yeah, because I do not know what this is. This does not ring a bell. I don't think anybody's requested this one. So let's see what we got here. This is On Holding. Oh, maybe I did get this one a long time ago. Wow, it's made quite the return trip. Is this AI or no, consumer durable apparel? Wow, this is done really well. Now let's see, it's a $15 billion company. Let's look at the finances here real quick. And then we'll get on to the next one. Next one on the docket is Amazon. So nice net revenue growth. Forward PE is 49. That's pretty high. Let's look at what estimates are going forward. Still seeing growth. Maybe it's slowing down. Looks like it could be slowing down a little bit compared to recent past. So you might have some slowing that can affect upside potential. Institutional ownership has grown a lot. Short interest is still double digits, 13%. It's kind of crazy. I don't like how expenses aren't ramping that great, but depending on their industry, that might be normal. It's apparel retail. It says Zurich CH. I don't know. I don't know what this one. They are buying back stock. It looks like their cash is really large. They've got very little debt, almost $1 billion in cash and bonds, 27% revenue growth year over year. But it does seem like they've already had their opportunity and done really well. Again, this is a full trip. So if you bought in the 15s and then you made 300% or 3x, I should say, 200% upside. Maybe you call it on this one. That's my take just at a glance, because growth might not be as positive in the future. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Revenue growth was still 27%, but it just looks like by estimates here that it's starting to cap a little bit. And the forward PE at 49 is pretty good. If this is retail and apparel, man, that is not a bad number. What is this supposed to be? Swiss Alps aims to experience by enabling everyone to run on clouds, so like shoes and stuff. There's a lot of competition in this, especially from China too. I mean, it's great what they're doing. I don't know how much of their stuff they build in China. It says cloud tech. I don't know the company very well. I know some people like their shoes. I do like that the net income is rising though. It just has to go up a decent amount more to fix this. All right, so let's look at Amazon. So that's my take on that one. It's already done really well, and I don't know if it'll continue to excel, especially retail, because again, some people might slow down on buying shoes, especially a year from now. You might see some of that slowing down a lot. AMZN. Here we go. Amazon. Haven't looked at this one in a while. That's kind of exciting. I like looking at some of these that have been a really long time. This looks great. This looks bullish as fuck. Let's go to the monthly. Look at this. Look how bullish this is. This is going higher. It's found support on previous resistance. It had a great monthly close above the 200 moving average, the 50 and the 100. On the weekly time frame, we're underneath the 200, but we're getting ready to go above it. And this could really be a nice continuation of run higher, where this thing could max out at like 316 maybe a year plus from now, and maybe it goes even higher. If it goes much higher, it's going to be like a blow-off type situation. But to me, Amazon looks very strong here. Again, there's a reason why I sold my short, wherever that was. Where was I short these guys? Over here? Fuck, I don't even remember anymore. It was a while ago. So again, I think that this is going higher, and if the economy does all right, that's definitely what's happening. Lulu, that is coming from Chris. Let's look at it. Chris likes those leggings. He likes looking at those girls in their Lululemons, right, Chris? Better not tell your wife, huh? Now this has been hit pretty hard, and again, it's got this kind of fanning pattern. It's consolidating underneath the .618. That's interesting. If we're going back to 2020 and calling this, let's go back even further though. Let's go back. I might want to even go to, gosh, can we go? This thing has went so, this is stupid. I think actually, here, let me do this. I'm going to say we found the bottom. That was a retracement, and I think we found it, or at least are close to it. This has been hit really hard. It's almost got a measured move. Could it go lower? Yes, it could. But let's say that we found the bottom here and just see what that looks like, because sometimes that's insightful. So we've got March 2020. That's my favorite place because that covers almost all of them. And then we're actually going to draw here down to here. Well, no, I'll need to draw it out further. I'll need to recalc. I'll have to do it here. Let's see here. And then draw just a little bit higher. Yeah, right about there. All right, so I think you could get a pretty good mean reversion to like 320 or something like that. Let's look at the finances for Lululemon. How are they doing? Are they getting any better? I know they got hit pretty hard because people just discretionarily, rich people are like, oh, I'd rather buy Bitcoin than buy Lululemons. So they started to slow down. Revenue isn't bad, though. Let's see here, though. 18 for forward PE. Again, and this is retail apparel. Still opening stores. Cash flow doesn't look bad. What do their estimates look like? Well, we're still seeing growth. It's just slowing slightly. It all looks pretty good though. What's their activity look like? Short interest. Short interest isn't bad. Institutional ownership. I mean, a lot of people selling in 2018. That's like the last time we had anything major with these guys. It's just really the lack of big growth. So we could bounce, and if with rates dropping, maybe people get excited over the next year. But I think what it's doing is it's a megaphone pattern. So you can quote me on this, man. Here's what I would do. If you're going long on this thing, cool. I get that. If you got up to like the .5 at 457, like if this bounces and people are buying Lululemons again because they're optimistic on the markets over the next year plus, then I would get out of it. So like if you're up here, by the latter part of next year, anything you see any weakness, or up here especially, if you got up to the 500s, I would get the fuck out. and maybe even looking at using this as a hedge for downside in the markets, albeit there might be better ones. That's what I would say about Lululemon. Oracle. Let's see if I got Oracle. I think I do. I'd be surprised if I didn't. I don't. Okay. All right. Whatever. Let's pull up Oracle. Oh, no. I didn't make a copy. All right. Oh, RCO. All right. And I might call it here soon, too, guys. I might. Hey, Jesse, could you look at Apple, please? I might do Apple, too. Just because that's an interesting one for everybody. So if you guys have anything else, I think at this point, if you want it, and I haven't done it, and I'm not saying I'm going to do it, you might want to tip or something, because then I'll feel obligated. All right, so Oracle. God, what a good company. Let's go to the monthly on this one. Look at this company. Look at what Oracle did for you. And it's got a, look at this, the month, bullish hammer, like a clean bullish hammer. I would say we're going higher. Oof, this is just such a crazy stock, guys. If you, I mean, even 2008, the 2008 financial crisis, this thing just said, fuck you. It's just such a good company. Let's see, though. Is this, where's March 2020? Right over here? Yeah, let's do that. So we go here. We'll say, God, there's just this thing is just so strong. Found support on the .786. Next step is like 160-ish. And this company, if I remember what their financials look like, it's just so good. Now, I don't know much about them fundamentally in the future. Enjoy the long weekend? Yeah, for sure. So forward PE 22, strong growth, cash rich, $3.13 billion. It's just a steady eddy that everybody's invested in. Estimates still show growth. I mean, growth is slowing. One could argue maybe that it's getting toppy. So maybe, but again, if the economy does well, we probably go up to the next rung. But one could argue that this is getting toppy. All right. Can you please take a look at TKO? TKO, Apple. I'm going to do Apple real quick. I might do TKO. Let's see. We'll look at TKO. I think I have that one. Is that Trade King or something? TKO. Oof, that's interesting. Wow, that's a very much... It's a toppy looking pattern. But I don't know about the financials of the company. But you just, like, again, but it could be breaking out. It could be, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what the financials look like real quick, and then we'll go to Apple, and then I'm going to call it. So if you guys are looking for anything else, there ain't much else after this in Apple. Because I need to enjoy my weekend. 179% revenue growth. Wow, big revenue growth here. What is this? Industry entertainment. Yeah, I think it is that. So that looks all right, but yeah. Yeah, so growth can really, but they've been selling a lot. Q3 of 2023, Q4 of 2023. So I don't know, man. I think they're thinking this valuation is rich, and I'm thinking that too. So I'd be worried about this thing rolling over. Going to Apple. What website is that where you get all the company's info? Visualstocks.com. It's like this. That. It's my buddy Alejandro's. With a Z. All right, so Apple. Apple, this is an interesting one. This company, oh, excuse me, I want to look at their actual financials. I just worry about Apple. I feel like they're going to get fucked by China. iPhone revenue getting toppy, but services still looking good. Yeah, it just doesn't look. So we got lots of stock buybacks. We got revenue growth that's single digits year over year. Profit growth that's barely double digits. Forward PE that's 29.94. I mean, you could argue that's rich and not rich. It just all depends on which way the wind blows, right? But they have a ton of cash. Even though they've got debt, it's cheap debt, and they've got $36 billion in bonds. What is that number? What are they making? Let me see here. Let me just do some quick math. One second. 36 times 1.0. Let's say they're getting 5% or something close. So they're getting 1.8 billion or 1.5 billion in just interest on their bonds. Just a crazy company. Lots of money with these guys. Lots of debt though too. Like I don't know. Q4 2023 was kind of looking great. Now it looks like their debt's going down, but it looks like some of their cash is going down too. I worry about Apple. I worry about Apple. It seems like there's so much competition lately. I love my MacBook Pro. Don't get me wrong. I love the ecosystem, even though I don't own the phones. But just China does not like Apple right now, and they're working hard to push people away from devices like them. So I worry about what Apple can do, even though it's had a hell of a bounce. If you bought this at 194, genius move, went to 293. Could it keep going up? Sure. But it's a $3.5 trillion company. I don't know. I wouldn't own it. I wouldn't own it. Unless you like the dividend and you're kind of keeping it as a steady eddy and you don't mind some kind of potential for decline, maybe to the 180 range. Worst case, maybe down here into the 140, 50 range. But again, if the markets do well, this thing might go up a little bit more, but I don't love Apple at all. I think it's kind of turning into a legacy. It's turning into an old legacy. Tesla is a much better opportunity. Nvidia is a better opportunity, in my opinion. I wouldn't be owning Apple. All right, guys. I think I'm done. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you very much for all the support again, guys, for everybody that's here. Thank you if you hit the like, if you leave comments afterwards. It's all appreciated. I will see you guys. I might do some videos over the weekend still with the Bitcoin miner. We'll see. I've had family stuff going on. I got my nephew's kid. His name is Lincoln. He's a cutie. He's got some problems with his legs and has to have compression socks on and stuff. We're trying to spend time with those guys and help them with their little baby and figuring out whether or not this is going to be a permanent thing or just a temporary thing. But anyway, love you guys. Thank you again for all the support, and I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I hope this next month turns out to be a really profitable one. At the very least, I hope we find it in October, guys. When everything gets cold, I hope we're sitting there making a bunch of money. I think that's what's going to happen. So you guys take it easy. I'll talk to you later. Going to go ahead and close out here. Let's get a video to play with. Today wasn't really a bad day, so I'm just going to say Bitcoin going to zero. Peace out.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto.
Last year, cryptocurrency funded every kind of dangerous criminal.
But I would not touch crypto in a million years.
Bitcoin is going to zero.
If I was the government, I'd close it down.
People are losing money in scams and huckster flim-flam artists.
These people who own these things should not own your money in any of those. I do think you're an idiot, okay?
It's over.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?